What's up guys, my name is Luke and welcome back to Motion and Design. So for this week's tutorial, I thought I would remake something similar to one of Rattlesnake's renders. He did this really cool render over here in Houdini where it's just like a bunch of cloths that are like kind of growing and moving, and I was like, this is really cool. And I was like, I wonder if we could get a similar effect in C4D. I feel like I was able to get kind of close to it. I don't think it's as perfect as his. I definitely think there's a lot more flexibility when it comes to Houdini, but we were able to get something close, and I guess it being different is kind of a good thing. So yeah, if you're interested in the project files, they'll be up on my Patreon as per usual, and there's also just a bunch of other tutorials and a lot of project files up on my Patreon. So yeah, if you want to support me, that's how you can do it, or you could just, like and subscribe, goes a long way as well. But yeah, let's get into the tutorial. Cool, so let's start out by just creating the base of our geometry. Let's go and create a plane. Let's bring this down. Let's maybe make it like 20, and then let's make it by maybe like 300, something like that. Should be good. Let's just also create another plane. This is just going to be our collider over here. Just going to put a texture on just so we can see the difference between them. Cool. With our plane over here, let's throw this into a cloner. We don't need it on that axis. Let's only just do one. Or is that the wrong one? There we go. Cool. And let's just bring this a little bit closer. And we can put like 3 on top. We can just put it to a spacing of like 10 centimeters, so that's a lot. Something like that should be good. Let's just give it a few more. I think I'm just gonna do like 10 by 3 for now. In my actual render, I think there was a lot. I mean, I think it was like maybe over like 1,000 of these, just to get the effect. But yeah, I'll leave that up to you guys to decide how many you guys want to do. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm not going to go too crazy with this, just or else it's going to run quite slowly. Cool, so let's hit NV, and we want to make sure that we have some like even segments over here. So let's raise this up. Oh, actually, I guess that's perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect squares, but to be honest, it'll do the job. I think just 120. There we go. And we got almost perfect squares, but it doesn't matter too much. Cool, so let's go over here, go simulations, let's go collider, then on our cloner, let's go simulations and block. Cool, so now as you'd expect, when we press play, it's going to fall and it's going to rest in place. Awesome, that's just what we're looking for. At the moment we can see there's kind of an issue where it's kind of like floating above the ground. That's a quick fix. Over here, that's just because the thickness is set to 1.5. Let's just set it to something like 0.5 for now. Actually, I also just want to decrease the number of these for now. We'll increase it later once we're happy with the effect. Cool, so now they fall, and they're sitting on the floor, which is fine. It's okay if there is a bit of a gap now. I would probably add some thickness after the effect. But if you don't want to, just drop down the thickness over here, and that should solve that issue. Cool, so now we want these things to move. So let's go over here, simulation forces, let's add some turbulence, and let's add some wind. So let's rotate our wind upwards. Just get it to like 90 degrees. And with our turbulence, let's go and set this to something somewhat high. Maybe something like that. And with our wind, I think we have to push this up quite a bit. So let's go maybe 200. And let's see, does this make our stuff move around? It does, not in a very pleasing way. So maybe let's go, so let's just bump up some turbulence up here. And in our turbulence, let's go and add a spherical field, take it out, and put it into our wind field as well. The spherical field is going to drive most of this animation. Let's just make it a bit smaller. So now when we press play, we should get the effect just over there, but obviously we need a little bit more. So let's bump this up, maybe like 500. Maybe 1,500. There we go. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna keep it like that for now. And now you can see if we just increase our frame range over here. And grab this. Now we can move it around and we get this cool effect. Cool, so that's pretty much the basics of it, but now let's go in and refine this. So the first thing we can see with this is that when we're moving this around, the cloth is kind of moving around, and if we had to look at the reference, they kind of stay, even when it moves out of the way, it falls back to its original position. So we can do that by going into our cloth over here, going into the mix animation, and then with our, let's turn on with force. Let's put this to its strength of about 0.5. So now, when we press play, you'll see that it falls, but then it'll fall back to the same place, which is just what we want. You can also see now that the effect of our wind and turbulence isn't as strong. If we had to bring this down to like 0.2, you'll see that it affects a little bit more, but then it doesn't fall into place as much. So I guess it's just spending time and just seeing what works best for you. I think for my render, I set it at about 0.5 because it gives me a nice result. But I think I'm just going to raise up this a bit, maybe give it a bit more turbulence, and maybe make this maybe even stronger over there. That was the wind, but yeah, I think this will work for now. Let's go and refine it a bit more. Cool, so we wanted that these cloths not only move up, but we also want them to stretch. So let's do that by adding a vertex map. So let's go over here, vertex map, and we want to use our field over here. Awesome. Cool. So this vertex map is going to drive a lot of stuff within our cloth animation. So let's go and put this into our bendiness, stretchiness, and target length. Cool. So let's raise this up a bit. Let's maybe make it like 100, 500, and let's set this to about 120. Let's see what that looks like, and then we can refine from there. Cool, so now you can see that it stretches quite a lot when we move it, which is kind of exactly what we want. Gives us this kind of like different look to it, which is quite nice. I wonder if I get a better result if I made this like 10. Let's go back. If I made these a little bit thinner, maybe it'll look nicer. Let's see. I actually think it does look nicer. I think if we added a lot more, it will make it pop a little bit more. Awesome. Cool. So that looks pretty cool and is pretty much the effect that we want. You can see that now if we had to layer a bunch more clones, that it will give us a bit of a cooler look. Let's see what it looks like if we maybe add 5. It's probably going to be a little bit slow, but let's find out. But yeah, definitely does look better when there's a lot more clones, although it is now going quite slowly. Cool, so let me bring it down just a bit for now and we'll raise it up again later. Let's bring it back to, I guess 2 is actually fine for now. Cool, so we don't want to actually animate our spherical field because, you know, who has time for that? You know, we got other things to do, so we want to spend time on animation. So let's go and look for a vibrate tag. We can get it to animate for us. Also, let's go enable our position, and we don't want anything on the Y, we just want it on the X and the Z axis. Let's set this to 100, maybe 0.5. Just gonna turn off our cloth for now, just to see how this animates around. Let's go and make this maybe 250, 215. I think that moves around a lot more. I did find that in my animation, you'll know that there's like some like glitchy parts. The reason for that was that you can see when this is moving around, sometimes it'll get to a point and then just like quickly move away. Obviously, maybe you like that, maybe you don't. I thought it looked kind of cool. I think if I was doing it again, I probably would fix that. And I guess the way you could fix that is just by making the frequency a little bit slower. Or, you know, you could hand animate it. That's up to you. But yeah, I think for now, this will work. Yeah, so now what we can do is we can duplicate our spherical field. Let's move it over somewhere else, like here. And then inside of our turbulence, let's add another spherical field. And in our wing, let's add that other one. And then also in our vertex map, let's add our third one over here. And let's just set this to max. Cool, so now they're both going to be applying the wind, turbulence, and effects to it. Cool, let's go back to our cloth over here and let's hit enable. And let's see what this looks like. I see why. with our other field, let's just move it over here and set a keyframe. So the reason I'm setting a keyframe is that when you're using a byte rate tag, when it stops, it kind of resets to a different point each time. So I find that if you just keyframe the first frame, it'll go back to the same frame each time, which is kind of what we want. Cool. So let's see what this looks like. Oh, messed it up again. Split here. Now I want you to stop there. Oh, it's also, we're using the same seed. So let's swap seeds. And it is not working. The reason it is not working is the same reason. We need to set this to max. And over here, set this to max. Nice. Now we're getting some movement, some animation without us having to do anything. Those are the best type of simulations, to be honest. At least in my opinion. Yeah, it looks like it does need some like refining with which seed and the way that it's animating, but I'll leave that up to you guys. It's more just to show you the baseline of how to achieve this effect. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. Now all we need to do is just add a bunch more clones to it and it'll look pretty cool. So let me just show you a few more things before we end this tutorial. Let's go over here to cloner, and I just want to add some randomness to this. So let's go and add a random effector. Let's turn off our position and let's turn on rotation. And we just want to rotate these a tiny bit. So maybe let's go 0.3, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. It is very subtle, but it's just that when they fall, it falls in kind of like a natural way. And then over here, let's go and add another random effector. But this one is going to be affecting our color. Effector color. There we go. Cool. So the reason I'm doing that is just when you're texturing, then you can use the attributes. I don't know, there's that one. Let's see if we put this over here. Is it vertex attribute? Oh no, it's color user data. It's the one. Color user data. We can plug that into our color, and then we can go MoGraph color. And now in our render, they will all look like that. But now we can just go over here and add a WIMP. Add the ramp in here, and now we get our black and white. So I don't want there to be too drastic of a difference. So something like that should just be fine for what I'm trying to achieve, just so that there's like some variation in it. You can obviously swap this up, change like seeds and stuff like that till you get something that you're happy with. I just wanted it that each one had like kind of a different color to each one. You obviously don't need to, but it's just a little thing if you want to. Cool. So yeah, now all you need to do is go to our cloner and add a bunch more segments. Let's go 5, let's go 10, something like that. Are we intersecting? We are intersecting. Let's just raise this up a bit, and now we can press play. And obviously it gets a little bit cooler depending on how many clones you set, but it will also get a lot slower. Like when I cached my animation, I think it was about 10 gigabytes in size. So that is a pretty decent cache over there. So yeah, I guess keep that in mind when you're adding all these different clones. But hey, if you like the look of it, just add a bunch of them and then just cache, and then leave your computer to cache for a bit. Cool. So you can see over here that we are getting this little thing over here. We can also solve that just by upping the substeps and also by increasing our mix animation over here. If we just turn this up a little bit more, you'll get it. You kind of have to find like a nice fine tune between how low it is and how strong it is, that it falls back into place, but it doesn't just hover in air and it doesn't move at all. So it's just kind of finding that like nice in between. Another thing you can do is increase the size of these spherical fields just to get a different result. You can have that each one is a little bit of a different size, and you could also use these spherical fields to drive the color. I think in my animation, I used the spherical fields and the vertex map to drive the color just by plugging in a color user data as a way to blend between two materials, one being like a cloth and then the other one being like a transmissive material. I'm not going to go into the texturing of this because I've done this type of texturing before in my previous tutorials, and I think at this point it's quite simple. But If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments and I'll make sure that next time I do it. But if not, I mean, if you're interested, there's a bunch of my other tutorials where you can see exactly how I did that. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. It was a bit of a quick one. It's quite a simple one. Yeah, make sure to go support Rattlesnake. He's definitely one of the coolest artists out there. Makes some incredible stuff. Definitely we weren't able to get like perfect like this, but I mean, I think with enough messing around, you can see that we get a similar result to what he was achieving. Also, if you are interested in figuring out how to do a similar thing like this in Houdini, Nick Maduka, he also just put out a tutorial last week on how to do this in Houdini. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that, go check him out. But yeah, I think for me, this is going to be it, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day, and peace.